Hey everyone, welcome back. So the weekend is finally upon us. It's Friday now. Hope you guys are having a great day and a great evening. It's gonna be kind of late out right now. I'm recording this at like 9 o'clock, so it's gonna be late. A couple of things we got to talk about. Obviously, the markets today were a little bit mixed. Bitcoin and Ethereum were both up. Miners were mixed a little bit as well. Most of them were up though for the most part. We'll take a look at what's going on there. Then we have two stories from the Bitcoin conference that's happening in Miami. We got Kennedy Jr. He made some kind of interesting comments as far as Bitcoin is concerned. So we'll take a look at that. And then Jack Mallers as well from Strike has made a pretty good announcement as well. So we'll take a look at those. And then we'll also take a look at the Bitcoin miners to see which ones are getting shorted right now the most, which ones are getting shorted the least, okay, based on the information that we do have for them. Okay, so as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider hitting this like button, subscribing, and commenting. That also helps. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on in the markets right now. So the S&P was down 0.14%, Dow Jones was down 0.33%, and the NASDAQ was actually up today 0.18%. Bitcoin, on the other hand, was up slightly today, was up 0.26%. It closed at 26,890 right now. We are still between our 200 weekly moving average and our kind of 20-day is the yellow line moving average. And then the teal line is the 50-day moving average. We're kind of between those right now, and we've been kind of bouncing between them. So we'll see what happens when the 20-day moving average comes down lower. Are we going to get pushed down lower as well with it, possibly to our 200 daily moving average, which is this blue line right here, which is now at about 24,870 or so. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Right now, the RSI isn't looking too good either. On the 4-hour, it's pretty much flat. If we look at it over here, last time it was back over here. Price at this point has been about the same as where it is right now. The 1-hour chart looks a little bit different here. We can see that it's been kind of going sideways here for the last, what is that? Probably 20 hours or so. We've been going sideways on it. It's at 48. Last time we were back here, roughly over here. Price was a little bit higher at that point. So really no direction as far as which way we want to go. But we have seen, obviously, the 20-day moving average cross over the 50-day moving average on it. So we'll see what kind of result we get over the weekend. Okay, so that's Bitcoin right there. Let's take a look at Ethereum as well. Ethereum, you can see here, has also been kind of trading between the 200 daily moving average and the 50 and the 20 right now. We'll see the 20 has crossed over the 50 right now, so we'll see how that's going to play out as well. And really, there's no direction as far as which way Ethereum wants to go either. So we're kind of in this no man's land right now with both of those. All right, so that's it for those two. Let's take a look at the miners, see how they did today. Any was down. Let's get rid of this. Makes it a little bit better to see. Okay, there we go. Nope. That one. There we go. Okay. And it was down 7.24% today to 31 cents. Argo was flat on the day, $1.19. Bit Digital was down 4.49% to $2.34. Bitfarms was down 1.74% to $1.13. Clean Cipher was up 6.3% to $2.53. CleanSpark was up just barely 0.24% to $4.22. Corbs was up 4.11% to 35 cents. DigiHost was up 3.16% to $1.63. DMG was up 1.68% to 19 cents. Greenidge was down 5.2% to $3.10. And they're continuing their slide down here. Hive was down 1.28% to $3.08. Hut 8 was down 2.05% to $1.91. Iris Energy was up 0.51% to $3.95. Marathon was down 2.19% to $9.18. Mawson was down 7.58% to $2.44. Riot was up just slightly here, 0.09% to $11.08. Soluna was down 1% to 20 cents. Stronghold was up 6.61% to $6.45. Wolf was down 2.5% to $1.56. And that's it for the miners here. Okay, so like I said, it was a mixed day on those. And then as far as the network hash rate is concerned, we haven't gotten any updates from yesterday. We're still looking at 362 million on the 7-day average, and then on the 1-day, if we look at it, it has come up here a little bit here to 369 million. Okay, let's take a look at the stories that we do have here. First, we're going to talk about is Strike and Jack Mallers. So Bitcoin payments app Strike expands to more than 65 countries from 3. This is huge news. One of the things that we've always been looking at in Bitcoin is expansion, growth, also people using it more around the world. And this is, I think, one of those things that's possibly going to lead to that. So this is good. One of the things is also adoption that we want. So this is going to help in that. So Strike, led by Jack Mallers, currently operates in the U.S. and El Salvador. Now it's pushing to new markets in Africa, Latin America, East Europe, Asia, and the Caribbean. from Antigua and Barbuda to, I can't pronounce that one, Vanuatu and Zambia. Okay, so they're moving definitely into other continents as well. The Bitcoin-focused payments firm Strike is expanding its app to more than 65 countries from the current base of US and El Salvador, which is great to hear. And the Strike app uses Bitcoin and Lightning, a secondary network for cheaper and faster Bitcoin transactions to offer global payment and cross-border payment transfer services. The app now supports a brand new user interface and also gives users the ability to hold funds in Bitcoin and Tether. So that's interesting there as well. That's all great. And then Strike says the expansion will increase its total addressable market to almost 3 billion people. That's a lot of people, obviously. It's not all the world, but it is a huge majority of it. Our end goal is to address the 7 to 8 billion people in every single country, said Manuel Rios, Strike's vice president of product, in an interview with CoinDesk. And that's obviously an ambitious goal there, to have everybody using their app. How likely are they to get there? I don't know, but nonetheless, they're making really good effort into that expansion, and we'll see how much they can actually get users into this, right? But nonetheless, this is great, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. So this is huge news for Bitcoin as well. Next is going to be, where are we seeing a commercial? I want to see a commercial. There we go. So Robert Kennedy Jr. makes campaign debut at Bitcoin 2023. Free money is as important as free expression. This is a quote from him. Let's take a look at it now. Obviously, I don't want to get political with anybody here, so I'm just going to talk about the aspects of Bitcoin and why I think that's important. And I think it would be nice to see more candidates being open about Bitcoin and being in favor of it. So that's the part that I'm kind of honing in here on. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made his first public appearance as a presidential candidate at the Bitcoin 2023 conference today, sharing his own experiences with Bitcoin, warning about how technology is enabling government totalitarianism around the world, and describing how he would protect the rights of Bitcoiners if elected president. So as president, I will make sure that your right to hold and use Bitcoin is inviolable. Kennedy said, I am an ardent defender and lifelong defender of civil liberties, and Bitcoin is both an exercise and a guarantee of those freedoms. I think we can all agree with that. Kennedy told the crowd that he was first inspired by Bitcoin as a critical freedom technology after learning about how it was used to circumvent financial restrictions during the Canadian trucker protests last year. None of these lawful and peaceful protesters had violated any law, but suddenly they found that they could not access their money, their bank accounts to pay their mortgages or feed their families. He recalled, when I witnessed this devastating use of government repression, I realized for the first time how free money is as important as free expression. Right, so that's just one example there. The other example that we have here now is obviously the sanctions that are going against Russia. Russia's now, along with other countries, are trying to use a different currency instead of the dollar. Right, so you're also seeing that happening as well. So that kind of goes with that as well. And then Kennedy has publicly expressed his support for Bitcoin since May 2023, acknowledging its separation from other cryptocurrencies and indicating that legislators should support its development rather than hinder it. As with regulations like the Biden administration's proposed tax on energy used by miners. On stage, he reinforced his distaste for such regulations, and he outlined the steps his administration would take to drive Bitcoin innovation in the U.S. So obviously, he's talking all the right points here as far as when it comes to being in front of Bitcoin miners or Bitcoin enthusiasts in general. So here's the points. First, I will defend the right of self-custody of Bitcoin and other digital assets. Second, I will uphold the right to run a node at home. Third, I will defend industry-neutral regulation of energy. Fourth, I will make sure that the United States remains the global hub of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. I will reverse the government's growing hostility toward this industry. So that's great to hear. What are his chances of getting the presidential bid and winning it? It's small, but there's always a possibility. We just don't know. Down here, also at Bitcoin 2023, Kennedy clarified that he is not personally invested in Bitcoin and announced that his presidential campaign would be the first in history to accept donations via the Lightning Network. So that's also interesting there, and I think that's great for adoption. We are now living in this age of turnkey for some reason I can't say that word. Totalitarian. You guys know what I mean. Our job is to try and build and fortify democratic institutions at the same rate, he concluded. The biggest, most important one on the horizon is Bitcoin because it can't be manipulated, which is why I think we all love it, because it's set in stone, 21 million coins. That's it. That's all you're getting. and that's all you're going to ever get. Okay. So I thought this was just kind of interesting that now presidential campaigns are actually talking about Bitcoin, things that they would do with it, and it's nice to see that is happening. Hopefully more candidates get involved with Bitcoin and Lightning Network and things like that. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of both of these stories. I think they're both good here for Bitcoin. Whether he wins or not is beyond the point, but at least we have this conversation happening right now where we do have opposing parties on the views of Bitcoin, okay? Or opposing candidates, I guess you could say, because we really have candidates from both sides of the party in support of Bitcoin, I guess you could say, but not maybe for the presidential candidacy. I don't know enough about it, so I'm going to get into it. All right, that's it for that. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin miners and as far as which ones are getting shorted more recently or less recently. Okay, so the first one we're going to start out with here is going to be Sphere 3D. You can see that they kind of peaked here as far as shares being shorted at 1.9 million. This was back on 2/15. It has come down to a low of 551,820. It's piked up a little bit here to 623,000. In a little bit, we're going to take a look at what percentage that actually means of their shares. I did a spreadsheet on that, so we'll take a look at that one. Argo does not have any data on it. BitDigital has been going up here as far as shares being shorted here ever since it looks like about by the end of the year of 2022 was pretty low, and then ever since then it has been increasing as well. It peaked, well, I think it's just peaked right now at 428 at 10,132,580 shares being shorted on them, so that has increased. Bitfarms shares shorted has been decreasing here ever since looks like, was it October 14th of last year, and that has been coming down here quite nicely, so they're only being shorted about 7.6 million shares right now. Next one is going to be Cypher. Cypher has been increasing here as far as shares being shorted as well to 8.183 million. They were down to about 3.3 million back in, well, the first 2 weeks in January here of this year. CleanSpark has come down to 4.8 million. This was back on 228. They went up here. It looks like they're coming back up a little bit here more to 8.6 million right now being shorted on them. Of course, Scientific, we don't have any data. DigiHost has been coming down as far as the number of shares being shorted. It has come up a little bit here to 325,000 right now. Their low was 235,000 shares, so not a lot of shares being shorted there. DMG no data. Greenidge is also seeing an increase in shares shorted to 1.8 million right now. Their low was about 1 million here. This was back on 3/15. Next one's going to be Hive. Hive has been coming down here with the number of shares being shorted to 5.6 million roughly. They did peak way back here. This was back of last year in August. And then their bottom was just not too while ago on February 15th, it looks like. Next is going to be Hut 8. Hut 8 is kind of all over, up and down here, depending on what news I guess they provide and information. But they're being shorted by about 14.6 million shares right now. Next is Irish Energy. They have been kind of also on a roller coaster ride here, up and down a little bit, and they're down to 1 million shares roughly being shorted on them right now, which isn't bad. Then you got Exfolio, no data for them. Marathon is also on a roller coaster ride as far as how much they're being shorted. I'm a little bit surprised they're being shorted this much, 42.5 million shares. That's a lot. I think they're one of the most ones that are being shorted right now as far as percentage of stock of shares. And I'm surprised because they have been actually executing pretty well this year. So I'm surprised that many people are shorting them. Mawson has been also on a roller coaster ride here. They peaked on, this was October 31st at 585,000 shares. They're now down to 99,000 shares. So not a lot of people are shorting Mawson for some reason. And then who do we have here? This is Riot right now. Also a roller coaster ride here. They peaked, it looks like, back on 3/31 at 33.7 million shares. They are down to 26.8 million shares right now. Soluna, wow, this one's kind of up and down as well, all over the place here. They are currently at 565,000 shares, sorry. Their peak was 734,000 shares. So not a lot of shares for them being also shorted. And Stronghold, all over the place as well. They dropped way down here to 2 million shares, it looks like right now. And yeah, 2.5 million as it is right now. They were down to 1.6 million. And I don't know if this is actually data from after they did the reverse split or not, but that's what we got right now. So that's what we're going to use. And then last one we got here is TerraWolf. TerraWolf, for some reason, also has been pretty calm here for the beginning, well, for quite a while here since last year, and it's been kind of up and down, but still relatively low, around 2 million shares being shorted. But recently, for some reason, that has gone up way up higher to 9.2 million shares. So a lot of people are thinking that they're not possibly going to be able to make it with the number of debts that they have, and I don't know. I think that might be the reason for it. So that's the information we have here. Let's take a look at my spreadsheet that I do have on this, and we'll go through the numbers here. So BitDigital, Argo, obviously we don't have any data for them. Let me see if I can zoom. This is pretty good. You guys could be able to probably see this. Well, maybe I'll make it 200%, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so Argo right now, we don't have any data on them. BitDigital is 12.28% being shorted. Bitfarms 3.2%. Cypher at 3.3%, you could say. CleanSpark at 7.6%. Shares being shorted. DigiHost 1.1%. Hive at almost 6.7%. Hut 8 at 6.6% also. So those two guys are pretty close to each other here. Iris at 1.9%. Marathon at 25.4% shares being shorted. If my math is right here, 42 million shares looks like being shorted. They have 167 million shares outstanding right now. That would make sense on that, I believe. That is accurate. Let's take a look at Marathon. Let's see if that's the number that we were using that's correct on here. Marathon, 167 million shares outstanding there. And then we have the data over here. Where is it? 167 million shares as reported out of Q1. So that does make sense there. Where was that sheet? There it is. Okay, so Marathon, obviously 25% being shorted. Excuse me, Mawson at 0.61%. Riot, 15.34%. Sphere at 0.81%. And TerraWolf at 4.36%. So when we look at how much is actually being shorted, you can see BitDigital about 23 million, Bitfarms 8 million, Cypher 20 million, CleanSpark 36 million, DigiHost, excuse me, 530,000, Hive 17 million, Hut 8, 27 million, Iris 4 million, Marathon 390 million being shorted on them, looks like. Riot 297 million, Moss only 243,000, Sphere 199,000, TerraWolf 14 million. Wow, that's still a lot though. Hold on, guys. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here because my throat's kind of getting dry. Okay. So based on all this, when we look at the percentages or the amount that they're being shorted here, well, let's do it by the percentage. I think that might be best. So let's do that descending. You can see that, excuse me, Marathon is being shorted the most here, followed by Riot. And then BitDigital, CleanSpark, and this is based on percentages. This is not based on amounts here. And then you got Hive, Hut, TerraWolf, Cypher, Bitfarms, and Iris. And if we do it by the dollar value amount, you can see that stacks up this way. Marathon, Riot, CleanSpark, Hut, 8, BitDigital, Cypher, Hive, TerraWolf, Bitfarms, Iris, and the rest go down here. Excuse me. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. Like I said, I'm surprised that Marathon is getting shorted so much because they are performing pretty well, especially this month so far. They're doing really good. They're double what they had basically last month. So I'm surprised that that's happening. Along with Riot. Riot I can see because, well, the issues that they're having with one of their facilities or one of their warehouses after the storm in December or January, whenever it was, that they are still trying to fix that. CleanSpark, I can see that one being short because that one has been down for quite a while, hasn't been performing as well as some of the other ones, but still has no reason to be shorted that much, I don't think. Hut 8, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on with Hut 8 as far as production being down. Then you got the US-BTC merger as well. So that could be one of those reasons for it. And then BitDigital has been slow to get the miners installed, so that might be a reason. Cypher, surprised also, they've been growing really fast here in the last 5 months or so. And then you got Hive. Well, lackluster performance here. They're pretty efficient when it comes to their mining, but growth is lackluster. TerraWolf has also been growing pretty well, but they do have a debt issues, so that's obviously possibly why they're being shorted, but it's still nowhere near where some of the other guys are being shorted right now. Okay, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think of all of this. As always, not financial advice. You guys have to do your own research on this. This is my research that I do on all of these guys, and this is kind of what I use to see which ones I want to invest in, but you guys have to do your own research as always. Okay, and then let me know if any of my data is wrong here. There's a lot of data that I do track, and I could make a mistake. So if you guys do find something, please let me know, and I'll correct it. Okay, and that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll do something probably tomorrow about as far as Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin miners this past week, see which ones performed better or worse. And then we'll see what else we can cover on the miners over the weekend. We'll see if anything pops up. Okay. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.